Students, there's many different ways to give medications. There's different medication dispensing devices, different procedures, all based on where you're going to be working at. This is only one indication of how to do it, and it's done in a way to help support you as you do your home video. We will begin. Enter your medication room, do hand hygiene. You have checked your doctor's order and seen that you have medications due at this point, this time of day. You're going to open your medications, and you're going to pull out each medication and check your 6 rights as you pull out the medications. Miss Frozen needs her insulin, NPH, She's going to get 32 units, and I do have plenty here. Sub-Q at this point in time. She also needs her insulin regular, 16 units, and I will have 16 units in this bottle, sub-Q at this time. Again, Miss Frozen is going to need her Cefadil. I'm going to give Cefadil, 500 milligrams, and this is Cefadil 250 per 1 milliliter, and I do have plenty of solution to get my medication out of. And it's going to be given IM at this time. The last medication Miss Frozen is going to get is tuberculin test. And this says tuberculin, 5 tuberculin units per 0.1 milliliter, and I do have a dose of 0.1 milliliter intradermally at this point in time. I have gathered all of my medicines that are due. I'm going to now take them to an area of my medicine room where I'm going to get them set up and ready to go. The first thing I'm going to do is get my insulin set up. I'm going to have my NPH and my R. I'm going to need an insulin syringe, alcohol swabs, and a label and a pen. To begin my insulin, since these are both insulins that can be mixed together to only create one shot for the patient, I'm going to mix them together using the method that is outlined in your book. First, I'm going to rotate. Do not shake vigorously, but rotate my NPH so that I can tell that everything is cloudy throughout, no sediment at the bottom. I'm going to check one more time, insulin, NPH. I'm going to give 32 units. There's plenty here. Sub-Q at this time to Miss Frozen. Insulin regular. I'm going to give 16 units, and I have 16 units worth here. And I'm going to give it sub-Q at this time to Miss Frozen. So I've checked my rights. I'm going to vigorously rub the tops to clean. Allow that to dry while I open my insulin syringe. Remove the cap. And the first thing I'm going to do is inject 32 units of air into my cloudy or NPH. Then I'm going to inject 16 units of air into my R. Now I'm going to draw up the R by inverting and holding it in this manner. Whatever manner you want to use, as long as you keep it perpendicular and that you don't bend the bottle and possibly bend your needle. And I'm going to draw up 16 units. Slowly pull back. If you see that you get too much, push back until you get exactly the amount that you need. Once you have ensured that you have the correct amount and no air bubble is visible, remove it, ensure that your needle is straight and that you didn't bend it, and show it to us that you have the correct amount. Next, I'm going to draw up my 32 units from my NPH. Without depressing the plunger, put it into the bottle, invert it again, and now I'm going to add my 32 and 16 together and have a total of 48 units. So I'm going to be slowly pulling down to the 48 mark. If you get an air bubble in this, you will have to start all over because you do not know how much is in and how much of R that you've messed up. So there's no way to push any messing out. You would have to totally start over. If you pull back too far, there's no way to push back into this. You would have to start totally over. So be very slow and methodical in it. 40, 42, 44, 46, 48. Pull off your bottle. Make sure your needle is straight. Demonstrate to us that you have the correct amount, a total of 48 units, and there's no air bubbles. And then scoop your cap. We're going to place this in a bag. We're going to do a label stating that it's NPH 32 units and R 16, and it's Miss Frozen's. And it's for sub-Q injection. Okay, we have our first medication ready. Next, we're going to work on our Cefadil. The dosages and medications that I'm calling out to you are some that I adjusted because we want to make sure that you do it correctly on the MAR that was being given to you by Miss Cusinelli. This one is a little bit different, showing so that you're not seeing exactly how to do it, that you are going to have to do it on your own. Next, I'm going to do my Cefadil. Cefadil, 500 milligrams. This is 250 milligrams per milliliter. So I'm going to have to do a little math in my head. If I'm going to give 500 and I have 201 milliliter, then I'm going to know that I'm going to have to give 2 milliliters of medication. So my math is done. Again, I check the dose, the drug, form is frozen. I'm giving it IM, and now is the correct time. So I'm going to draw up, and since I've noticed on the top of my MAR that my patient weighs 180, I know that they're a fairly good sized person. I can use a standard syringe of 3 cc's because I'm drawing up 2. I can use a standard gauge of 23, and I can use a standard needle length of 25 or of 1 inch. Clean the top of my bottle, even if it's new and you've just popped the top off of it. Clean, allow that to dry. And remember, before you ever go into any kind of multi-use vial, you have to put in that amount of air. So I'm drawing up 2 cc's and injecting that amount into my bottle, turning it upside down, and making sure my needle is below the level of the water. I'm going to draw up slowly 2 milliliters. I see I have an air bubble at the top and at the bottom. Carefully flick your syringe to get the air bubble up to the top. pull back more than what you need. And then as you inject back to the 2 cc or 2 milliliter mark that you need, it will have expressed your air bubble into the bottle. Carefully pull it out. Turn and demonstrate to us that you have 2 cc's and that there's no air bubble. Scoop your cap. You're going to make a label as such. Naming the drug, the amount, and how it's to be given and who it's to be given to. Apply that label to your bag. And you have your second one ready to go. Last, we're going to do our TB skin test. We're going to need to get our TB skin test or TB syringe. We're going to need to pull up that amount, 0.1. This one has a new cap. I'm going to pop it off, but I am still going to clean it with a brand new alcohol swab, even though it's a brand new bottle. Allow that to dry. Inject air. Turn it upside down. Pull back to the amount that you need. If there's any air bubbles, flick them to the top very gently so that you don't bend your needle. Pull back more than you need if there's an air bubble now at the top. And as you inject back into the bottle, that should go away. If it does not, you can take your bottle off. Still have a little bit of an air bubble. Flick it to the top now that you have the bottle off and go to the exact amount that you need, the 0.1 with no air bubble. Scoop your cap, label with the drug, the amount, the fact that it's going to be given intradermal and is for Miss Frozen. Place this label on a bag. And you now have all your medications. You have now checked it for 2 times, all your rights, and you will check it for the 3rd and final time when you get into the patient's room. You're going to gather all your supplies that you're going to need. I'm going to need Band-Aids. I'm going to need more alcohol. I'm going to need an additional needle because whenever you give anything IM, you always change your needle to a fresh one. I do not know that y'all have one in your an additional needle in your kit to change, but if you do not, you must tell us that you are changing the needle prior to giving it IM. Okay, I'm now ready to move to the patient's room. Knock, knock, knock. Enter the patient's room. Hand hygiene. Hello, my name is S.Williams. I'm going to be giving your morning medicines. I have 3 different injections for you. Can you state your name, date of birth for me? I look on the armband to make sure that their name and date of birth matches what I have on my MAR. I also check, in this case, I also check the hospital number to make sure that it is correct as well. And that is correct. I have Miss Anna Frozen, date of birth 6/22/55, and her hospital number 0006 does match. All right, I've checked your allergies on your MAR when I first began, but can you tell me, are you allergic to anything? Is there any medications you cannot receive? She tells me no, so I'm not able to proceed. We will not be injecting into a dummy. We're going to be injecting into our hot dog for our intradermal and into our glove for our IM and sub-Q. So in the patient's room, I'm going to put on gloves, instruct the patient that I'm going to be giving an intradermal medication. And when you complete your video, you're going to be showing us on another person the different locations. So I'm not going to get into that in this demonstration, but you will be doing that tacked on to the end or the beginning on where intradermals can be given. That will be a separate video that Ms. Cusinelli will be doing. Okay. Find your tuberculin. That's the first thing I'm going to be giving. I pull out my syringe. I check my order. It is Miss Frozen TB skin test, and I'm going to compare it to what I have written down. TB skin test 0.1 intradermal for Miss Frozen at this time. I have my alcohol swabs ready. I'm going to clean the location. We're using a hot dog because that allows us to see a wheal. This is not easy to do. It took me multiple tries. You will need to make sure that you try this and practice it prior to doing this injection. And I found it easier to use the hot dog closer to the end. It tends to work better. Remove my cap. As I said, we have cleaned the area that we're going to be injecting into. I want to go bevel up at a 15-degree angle. Stabilizing the location. Stabilize the needle as you inject your full dose of medication. Remove. Activate. And because you're going to be practicing this repeatedly, and we want you to save all of your injectable medications for next semester, say activate, don't actually do it, and then dispose of it into something that you have made to be a needle box. Then I want you to pick up and demonstrate to me, show me the wheal that you have developed. And it should be a little lump in the skin, and a wheal should be developed if you injected it correctly. Apply a Band-Aid to the area. And now you're ready to go on to the next injection. Change your gloves, taking them off correctly. Hand hygiene. Now you're ready to go on to the next injection. Now I'm going to give my insulin. Check your insulin again against your MAR for the final time. Miss Frozen, she's already said she has no allergies, and the MAR says she has no allergies. It is NPH 32 units, NPH 32 units, regular insulin 16 units, sub-Q together at this time on Miss Frozen. I'm going to take my alcohol. I'm going to do my correct location sites, which you will show us later. I'm going to clean the area. And I'm seeing on my MAR that this is a 180-pound person. So with that, I know that I can go directly in at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to go in a dart-like fashion, inject, hold. I do not have to aspirate on anything that is sub-Q or intradermal. I'm going to support my syringe so that it's not going up and down or hurting the patient. So I'm going to support it with my fingers as I inject slowly the medication. Now your book does not say this, but the books in the past and what we have always taught is that once you have injected, wait 10 seconds to count 10 before you pull it out. That will allow it not to follow the track out and lose some of the medication. So count to 10, remove, activate, and you have now given your insulin, and discard of it into your needle box. I did not have gloves on. I apologize. Do have your second set of gloves on when you do this. Okay, take those off. Hand hygiene. Now you're going to do your third medication with gloves on again. I apologize. Have gloves on for every time you do an injection. It is invasive. There is the potential for blood interaction, so do not do this without gloves on. I prefer to change gloves every time, but it's not something you necessarily have to do unless they become soiled. All right, our last medication is my Cefadil. Cefadil, 500 milligrams in the 2 cc's that I drew up. It is due IM into a deep muscle. IM on Miss Frozen at this time. So I'm going to take my alcohol, find my landmarks, clean the area, I'm going to replace my cap, change needles. If you have a needle, extra needle, you can change it at this point. If you do not, then you will have to use the old one. This is not matching, so I will have to go back to my original needle and just tell you that I will change a needle before I'll inject. You always use a new needle from what you have drawn your medication up with when you do IM. I'm going to find my landmark. It's going to be in a dark fashion in 90-degree angle into the skin. Anchor it by holding it. You want to make sure that you do not let that tilt because that would hurt the patient. And you must aspirate. Pull up to see if you have any blood. If none is seen, then you can inject. Once you inject, activate your needle, discard of it, and apply a Band-Aid to the area. All right, those are our 3 different injections that you're going to have to cover. Where you give them will be done in a separate video that you'll do on another person that Ms. Cusinelli is going to show you. Please watch this video and we'll have comments and talk about this Monday at 10:30 when we have our Zoom meeting. Thank you very much. The end.